But still, I don't think that any single group of people have the market cornered on depravity. For example, I lived in Thailand for a couple of years when I was younger. And I just, unless you've been in Bangkok or around other parts of the country, you have not seen craziness. You have not seen it. My first day in Thailand, I'm not kidding. My first day, within the first 2 hours that I was out on the street walking around, I was grabbed by the arm by 3 different prostitutes. I remember because I had this is back before cell phones and the way we have them now. I had a little audio, mini cassette recorder. And so I was kind of dictating my first impressions of being in Thailand. And I'm talking like, I keep seeing these signs that are, this one says passion, passion, passion. And this one is this. And next thing I know, there's these women on either side of the street that I'm on that are whistling at me. And, they were dressed a certain way. I immediately recognized what they were. I'm like, oh, crap, I got to get out of here. So I'm walking down the street rather quickly, and they come out from the buildings, one after another, and they come up and they grab me by the arm, and they've got these long nails, and come over here, come over here. I'm like, no, please let go of me. Please let go of me. I didn't want to just pull away because the rate of AIDS is like something like 80% of the prostitutes in Bangkok have AIDS. And I was afraid if I pull away, these long nails are going to scratch me and I'm going to end up with, HIV or something. If they've got blood under their fingernails or something. I was freaked out. And so I got to find this tape somewhere. Oh, I'll have to find it, see if I can find that and play it for you sometime. It's from, what was that? It was 1993. And what I didn't realize was this particular street was worse than any other because it was, it's called Soy Cowboy or Cowboy Street, Cowboy Road. Cowboy referring to mostly American GIs on shore leave coming to, visit the houses of pleasure. But anyway, it was everywhere, and the trafficking was a major problem in Thailand. I got into fights with these sex traffickers sometimes. I've told you the story the one time about coming out of a store and seeing this pickup truck driving down the road, and they threw a woman out of the back of the truck and then stopped the truck. And this is the main road in town, and they're stomping on her head's down on the pavement, and they're with their heels stomping on her head, trying to bust her head open like a watermelon on the street. And I got in there and busted these guys up and then fended them off while I wait. Just hundreds of people had formed a circle there. And do I have a picture of that location? No, I don't. I've got a couple pictures I'll show you here, but not of that. But anyway, they were everywhere. And then the dirty cop at the end that finally showed up, turned the woman back over to the men and said, don't do this in front of the Americans again. But I worked with a lot of people that were sex trafficking victims. One of the places that I'd love to go to, I lived for about 6 months in one part of Bangkok. I lived all over the country, but I was in one part of Bangkok called Thonburi, and I would ride in to this orphanage. And a lot of the kids, a lot of the children at this orphanage, that's me and some little orphan kids. I can't get it to focus. A lot of these orphan children were the children of prostitutes or girls that were, and they young, these prostitutes, a lot of them. It's sex slavery. It's not like, a grown woman making your decision to work as a prostitute. I mean, these are children. Some of these girls are like 12 years old. And so these girls get pregnant all the time. And if they don't end up if they end up having the baby, most of the time they end up in an orphanage. In fact, or on the street dead. This is a picture. I was on my way home one night, and it was raining outside, and I was trying to get inside quick, but I noticed that a lot of my neighbors were gathered at a neighbor's house, which was unusual. It's raining. There's no reason for it. And so I went in, and I'm looking around, and the family, the man and his wife, who were probably in their 50s, were sitting on the floor, and they were accepting some little cash donations from the well-meaning neighbors from the neighborhood that showed up. And what it was they had in the storm, a prostitute, we assume it was a prostitute, took that black duffel bag with a baby in it, a newborn baby, zipped the baby up in the bag, and just dropped it on a random stranger's doorstep and took off. And this happened frequently. So the neighborhood was trying to give some donations to this poor family to try and take care of the baby. Their plan was they were going to take care of the baby for as long as they could. But most likely the baby would end up in an orphanage. So anyway, this little girl I fell in love with at the orphanage. Don't laugh. I'm a lot skinnier and young looking there. But this girl, she was 2 years old. Her name was Fawina. Fawina. Fawina was deaf. This is because she was her mother was most likely a drug user, very likely a prostitute. Her medical charts showed that she had already had 2 heart surgeries by the time she was 2 years old. They were saying it was highly unlikely that she was going to live past her teens because of these heart defects. And Fawina, there she is holding, I don't know if you can see, she's holding my watch in her hand. It's actually an older one. That's a white face. That's my G-Shock I had back then. The G-Shock I have now is a black face. But anyway, Fawina was, they didn't know a name for it. She had symptoms very much like autism. They thought she was autistic. First thing I would do when I'd show up is I'd give her one of those cookies. She was my favorite. I'd work with all the kids, but I quickly got to where each week she was the one I would want to hang out with. Here's another girl. Excuse me, didn't mean to snort in your nose there. But Fawina, because I don't know if all people with autism are like this, but with her, she liked to, the only time that she would laugh or smile or anything was when she was in motion. So I would often swing her around in circles, and she'd laugh and laugh. I'd put her on a swing and swing her. My original intent was to adopt her. I wasn't old enough yet. You had to be a certain age for that international adoption. And I wasn't married yet, but I got married pretty quickly after I got back to the States. And so I wanted very badly to adopt Fawina. I think about her all the time still. I think that she would have died long time ago. But I thought at the very least I could bring her back to the States and give her the best life I could for the time that she had. But it was going to come out to about $15,000 to plus the plane tickets, and I didn't have that kind of money to make that happen. So I guess I started out the show by asking, do you believe if demons are real? And I do believe it. And I believe it. Some people will say, in fact, maybe even in this chat, people have said this, but people say, oh, Jake, shut up with all your values and everything. Your, what is it that millennials call it now? Anytime you talk about virtue or morality, they call it, what is it, virtue signaling or something like that? As if you talk about any kind of morality, you're virtue signaling. My understanding is that virtue signaling is when you are kind of hypocritically trying to tell other people to do something that you yourself won't do. But I think that we ought to stand up in defense of traditional values, because traditional values have undergirded and provided a strong foundation for the society that we enjoy. And I believe, as a historian, the lessons of history show us that every civilization that turns away from its moral foundations and embraces wanton lasciviousness, that nation always crumbles. The once great empire of Babylon, of ancient Greece, of Rome, they all fell apart. Society became effeminate, decadent, widespread sexual immorality. And if you don't think that that's happening here in America and in Europe and elsewhere around the world, I'm telling you, it is happening. And we should not be ashamed to stand up against the trolls and the people that make fun of us and say, it's about time we bring back a little good old-fashioned belief in the Bible and traditional values that made us a strong people once upon a time. So that's all I have to say about that.